The silence of the desert had grown thick, almost unbreathable. It wasn't just the absence of human voices, but the invisible weight of a drought that seemed to have stopped time. Elijah, the prophet of Tish, walked with a firm step among the burning rocks, obeying a command that few would have understood. He had announced to King Ahab that there would be no rain or dew except at his word, and now he was fleeing, not out of fear, but by divine command. God had spoken to him in secret. He was to hide by the Kerith Brook, east of the Jordan River. That place didn't appear on any major maps, nor was it known to travelers. It was a forgotten corner, an unlikely refuge for a man pursued by the power of the kingdom. Yet Elijah was learning that God's ways rarely aligned with human logic. When he reached the brook, the water still flowed clear among the stones. The prophet knelt, drank, and raised his eyes to the blazing sky. He knew the drought would advance, the fields would dry up, and famine would strike hard. Humanly speaking, remaining there meant a slow death. But Elijah trusted the word he had received. It was then that the unthinkable happened. From high in the sky, black shadows began to descend. They were ravens, despised birds, considered unclean according to the law. Their wings sliced through the dawn air as they approached fearlessly. Elijah watched in amazement as one of them dropped bread and meat near him. It was no illusion. At dusk, they returned. Day after day, morning and evening, the ravens faithfully returned. The prophet understood a profound truth. God rules not only over kings and nations, but also over all of creation. Those birds, guided by a higher will, became messengers of provision. In the midst of isolation, Elijah was not alone. The God who had closed the heavens now opened a source of sustenance where no one would have expected it. Each sunrise by the stream was a silent lesson. As the world around him dried up, Elijah learned that obedience leads to provision, even when it comes in ways that defy all human expectation. As the days passed, the sound of the stream became the constant soundtrack of Elijah's life. The water flowed, but each morning it seemed a little weaker. The drought was fulfilling its purpose, and the earth began to show deep cracks, as if it thirsted for God. The prophet observed this change with an attentive heart, knowing that nothing happens without an eternal purpose. The ravens continued to arrive punctually. They never failed. This was not by chance, it was divine discipline. Elijah reflected in silence. If God could command wild birds to feed a man, what limit could there be to his power? In solitude, the prophet was transformed. He learned to depend completely, not on reserves, nor on plans, but on the Lord's daily faithfulness. In Israel, meanwhile, the people murmured. The altars were full, but their hearts were empty. They sought rain from false gods, offering sacrifices without repentance. The contrast was stark. A nation with temples and a prophet hidden away with nothing, yet sustained by God himself. Elijah began to understand that the true miracle wasn't the bread or the meat, but the inner formation. God was preparing him for something greater. Before confronting kings and false prophets, he had to learn to listen to the silence, to trust when no one is watching, to live by faith when there is no applause. One afternoon, the stream finally dried up. The sound that had accompanied his days vanished. Elijah stared at the empty bed, without panic, without reproach. He had already learned the essential lesson. The God who provides in Cherith also provides in times of change. When one spring dries up, another is about to open. The voice of God spoke to him again, clear and firm. He was to go to Sarepta, to the house of a widow. The plan seemed even more illogical than before. How could a poor woman support a prophet in times of famine? But Elijah no longer questioned. He had seen ravens obey, he had seen the sky close in, and he had witnessed unfailing faithfulness. With a determined step, he left Cherith behind, carrying with him not only the memory of the miracle, but a faith refined by solitude and absolute dependence on God. The journey to Sarepta was more than a physical relocation. It marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Elijah walked with the certainty that God always goes before him, preparing hearts and circumstances. The experience by the brook had not been a mere act of survival, but a spiritual lesson. Remembering the ravens, Elijah understood that God is not limited by what is pure or impure according to human perception. He uses what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants. Those birds, symbols of abandonment and contempt, were transformed into instruments of life. Likewise, God often uses unexpected people and situations to fulfill his eternal purposes. The story of the prophet fed by ravens remains etched as a silent testimony for future generations. It teaches that divine provision does not always arrive wrapped in comfort, but it always arrives on time. That obedience precedes miracles, and that true faith is formed in the hidden. In a world that seeks security in what is visible, Elijah's life proclaims an eternal truth: God is enough. When everything seems to dry up, when human resources fail, he remains the same. The stream may disappear, but the word remains. The drought would eventually end, fire would descend from heaven on Mount Carmel, and the name of the Lord would be exalted once more. But before all that, there was a lone man, a hidden stream, and some obedient ravens. Thus, the story speaks not only of an ancient miracle, but also of a present-day invitation to trust when there are no guarantees, to believe when the path seems illogical, and to rest in the certainty that the God who fed Elijah continues to care for those who listen to his voice. Because in the end, it wasn't the ravens who sustained the prophet, but the unwavering faithfulness of God, who never abandons those who walk according to his will.